And let me ask you this. So when you were in Africa, I don't know if you think about or take the time to realize how far you've came. You were an actor that moved, that was struggling. You had a lot of rejection. Did you think back in the day when you moved to New York for the first time that you'd be in South Africa, your team would do over $100 million while you were gone, and you'd come back to just crushing it in the real estate game? Or was that not even in your head back in the day when you started?
Good question. The answer is kind of yes and no, right? Like, no, I never thought that any of this was possible because it, like you said, it wasn't in my head. I didn't even understand the type of deal volume that we do now. I think 10 years ago, I would just be really, really excited about doing rentals. Maybe I could do 2 rentals in a week instead of just 1. That would be awesome. But at the other side of it was kind of like, yeah, I chose from a very, very early age, I chose the idea of success first over career, and I said, you know what, no matter what happens, I just want to make sure that I'm successful when I grow up, whatever age that's going to be. So at first I thought I was going to come to New York City and be successful as an actor, and that didn't work out. I made no money and was about to go home to Colorado because I couldn't afford to live here anymore. And then it turned out that, real estate was in the cards for me. But it wasn't a set plan for me. The only thing I ever planned on was that I was going to work as hard as I possibly could to be successful. And that way I didn't let any speed bumps get in the way. A lot of people, like, they pick that one career that they want to have. They have this one dream and aspiration. And the minute it doesn't work out, or there's a little bump in the road, it's like end of the world for them. I don't know what to do. They move home, they complain, they cry, they bitch, they moan. And for me, those are just little speed bumps that you go over that take you down the road that you're going to go down anyway, if that road is called success.
I had a lot of our game changers ask questions. A lot of people had the same question regarding starting from scratch in a new city. What are the activities you would focus on to rebuild your network and client base? And obviously you did this in New York City, which is one of the toughest areas to actually rise above the noise. So what are some tactics, or what are the focuses you'd have if you went to a new city?
You can't be fake. You can't just go to networking events to try to network with people. No one wants to work with a networker. You have to meet people at organic, authentic places that are true to you. So case in point, for me, when I first started in this business in 2008, so my first couple years, I didn't know anybody. I'm not from New York. I wasn't, on the Upper East Side in high school like a lot of these real estate brokers were. So the only thing I knew how to do literally was work out. Like, that was the one thing I could do. And so I found 3 separate gyms, and I made it my goal that every day I would meet 3 new people. And I would add them to my Rolodex, whether they were 3 people I met on the street, 3 people I met on the subway, or 1 person I met at each one of these gyms. And I had a gym I went to in the morning, a gym I went to midday because I wasn't that busy. I didn't have that much business, and a gym I went to in the evening. And I would make it a point that people in these gyms saw me all the time. So like, people at the gym, right? They like working out with people who like working out. And so that was a common interest that we had. And then slowly over time, I'd let people know that I bump into people that ask me to spot them, stuff like that. I'm a real estate agent. We get to know them. And like we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, people don't like to be sold, but they love shopping with friends. And slowly but surely, a good chunk of my client base came from these 3 gyms that I joined. And if I just faked it and said, you know what, I'm going to this networking event, or I'm going to go to this party and try to meet people, like, it's a waste of your time. So if your big thing is that you have dogs, go to that dog park 3 times a day and meet people. If you have kids, right, you've got play groups and parents. I mean, you're lucky. You have a golden ticket in that kid to meet other people who, guess what? Kids require space, and more kids need more space. So those people then need to move. Some of my first clients were pregnant couples who just were living in 1-bedroom apartments on the Upper East Side who needed 2-bedroom apartments. Those were great clients for me to have. So if you're going into a new market, figure out the one thing that is true to you, whether it's working out, or dogs, or you've got kids, or you like going to the movies, or you're really, really great at Dungeons and Dragons, I don't know. And create or be a part of a group that exists with like-minded people. That is your immediate sphere of influence. That's your first client base. And then work from there. Don't try to spread yourself all over the map. You'll become burnt out, and then you're just going to hate life.
You said it very tactically too in one of your episodes. You talked about get to know your community first. People want to like dominate their entire city, then the state within like a year. It's like, get to know your community, your city, and really figure out your niche there, and then you can expand. Obviously, you didn't expand to LA and all these areas right away. It took you a while. You know what I mean?
Yes. And so it's, like I say to real estate agents in New York City a lot, they come into New York and they live in the East Village And that's the area they really, really know. But they just want to do deals in Tribeca and Central Park South because those are big. And I'm like, do you even know those areas? Do you know any of those buildings? Do you know what they sell for? That's like a dermatologist showing up at the hospital and doing open heart surgery because they really want to do it. Like you can't do that, right? Or the wide receiver being the tackle, or the quarterback deciding to go down and being running back. Like you could, I guess, because you have the schooling and the education, but you're not going to be good at it, and no one's going to pay you to do it. And most likely you're going to fail, fall flat in your face. You're going to get pissed off about the rejection. And then you're going to be one of those other 82% who quits in the first year. And guess what? It wasn't the market's fault. It's not the city's fault. It was your fault.
I want people to understand some of your biggest deals that you've talked about to date. Maybe you've had some bigger ones the last couple of months, but a lot of your videos, some of the people I've connected with that we know, we have mutual friends, 5 or 6 years it took to close some of these deals. Some people you were following up with so consistently, they're like, okay, Ryan, okay, you can stop following up. I'm going to go with you. And that is persistence that most people, it doesn't even make logical sense in their head because they stop following up in 3 days.
Yes, of course.
That's a game changer that people understand.
Yeah, I think if I had to break my career down into like the 2 most important things that I could tell anybody, is that sales, it starts with the people, but it is bookended, right, by discipline for how you structure your day. And that's the big reason I wrote my book, right, which comes out in September. So you can go to sellitlikesirhant.com and you can pre-order there, but it's called Sell It Like Serhant. And it is, it's my playbook for how to sell. And a lot of it is how to structure your day so you can be the most effective salesperson ever. And that's what most people don't focus on. I wrote the book in part because everything that's in there I couldn't find in other books. And I wrote it now because I was actually ready to write it. But otherwise, I didn't want to write a book just to write a book. I'm only 33. I'm not writing a memoir. And I wrote it so that people could understand how I structure my day. So I structure it between 3 separate phases, right, that have 3 separate actions. So, and I used to put this in my calendar. So if you're a real estate agent, you should write this down. You should buy the book because it's all in there. But I would structure it between finder, keeper, doer, right? So if you're your own independent contractor, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're selling something on YouTube, or you're selling real estate in New York City or in Hawaii or South Korea, wherever you are, right? You have to be a CEO, a CFO, and a COO all the time, every day on your own. And that's hard to do. So you have to separate your mind, and you have to separate it in your actual calendar. And when I first started, I didn't really know what a CEO and a CFO and a COO really do. So I broke it down to finder, which is the CEO. That's the person who goes out and finds the business, who prospects for business, who thinks about kind of a macro level idea of what he wants the business to be. The keeper is the CFO. That's the one who's thinking about ad budgets. What am I going to spend? How do I spend money to make money? And then the doer is the COO. And that's the one who actually does the work. So for me, that was doing all of the appointments, that was going on the showings, that was doing contracts, that was painting apartments, cleaning up trash if I needed to. And so finder, keeper, doer. You structure your day with a couple hours here, a couple hours there, and a couple hours at the end of the day, and you force yourself just to do those 3 things, you will be more successful. And then if you follow the 3 F's of follow up, follow through, and follow back, that's it. That is my job. I follow up with people, I follow through with what I say I'm going to do, and then I follow back with them to make sure that they don't forget about me until the day that I die. And that's why some of the biggest deals I've done have taken 5 or 6 years.